you have spent any time reading about personal finance, you have almost certainly come across the 50-30-20 rule. It is probably the most widely repeated budgeting framework in the world. 50% of your take-home income on needs, 30% on wants, 20% on savings. It sounds clean, simple, and logical, like something it should just work. And for some people in some circumstances, it works brilliantly. But for a significant number of people, especially those in high-cost cities, on lower incomes, or carrying debt, the 50-30-20 rule creates more frustration than it solves. Today we are going to examine it honestly, what it gets right, where it fails, and what to do instead if it does not fit your life. Let us start with what the rule actually says and why it became so popular. The 50% needs category covers the expenses you cannot reasonably avoid: rent or mortgage payments, utilities like gas and electricity, groceries, essential transport to work, insurance, and minimum debt repayments. The 30% wants category covers lifestyle choices: dining out, subscriptions, hobbies, clothing beyond the basics, holidays, and entertainment. The 20% savings category covers everything forward-looking: building your emergency fund, pension contributions beyond the employer minimum, ISA or retirement account contributions, and additional debt repayment above the minimum. The elegance of the framework is its simplicity. 3 categories, 3 percentages, a clear direction for every pound or dollar you earn. Here is the central problem with the 50-30-20 rule in 2026. Housing costs in most major cities have completely broken the framework's arithmetic. In London, Manchester, New York, Sydney, Toronto, and dozens of other cities, rent for a modest one-bedroom flat or apartment regularly exceeds 50% of a typical salary on its own. Before you have paid a single utility bill, bought a single grocery, or covered any transport cost, the entire needs allocation is already gone. The 50-30-20 rule was popularized in a different economic era, when housing represented a much smaller proportion of most people's budgets. Applying it rigidly to a modern high-cost city budget and then feeling like a failure when it does not work is both unfair and counterproductive. The honest advice here is to treat the 50-30-20 rule as a directional framework rather than a rigid law. If your rent alone exceeds 50%, try adapting the ratios to fit your reality. A 70-20-10 split, 70% for all needs, 20% for wants and lifestyle, 10% for savings, is far more achievable for many people in expensive cities and still builds meaningful financial progress. Some financial advisors suggest an 80-15-5 approach for people in genuinely tight situations. The point is not to hit a specific percentage. The point is to have any deliberate allocation system at all, where some money is always moving towards savings rather than disappearing into untracked spending. The 50-30-20 rule also has a significant income dependency problem that rarely gets discussed openly. At higher incomes, say £60,000 or more, saving 20% is achievable and still leaves substantial money for needs and wants. At £24,000 take home after tax, roughly $1,700 a month, saving 20% means £340 a month. That leaves £1,360 for rent, bills, food, transport, and everything else. In London or New York, that is genuinely impossible for most people. The rule works better at higher income levels and worse at lower ones, which means the people who most need financial guidance are the ones the rule serves least well. If 50-30-20 feels too complicated or too unrealistic for your current situation, try an even simpler 2-bucket approach that removes all the percentage pressure entirely. Bucket 1 is fixed. Everything that goes out automatically every month via direct debit or standing order. You calculate this number once and it stays roughly constant. Bucket 2 is flexible. Everything else. Your salary minus bucket 1 equals your flexible total for the month. From that flexible total, you decide consciously at the start of each month how much goes to savings and how much is available to spend freely. 2 numbers. 1 decision per month. The elegance of simplicity beats the precision of complexity when the complexity causes people to give up. Here is the deeper insight that the 50-30-20 rule is actually trying to teach, and it is valuable regardless of which percentages you use. The insight is intentionality. The rule works not because the numbers are magic, but because it forces you to think about money allocation before you spend rather than after. Whether you use 50-30-20, 70-20-10, or your own custom split, the act of deciding where money goes before it arrives is what changes financial outcomes. Reactive spending, spending whatever is available until it runs out, is the actual enemy. Any proactive system, however imperfect, beats reactive spending every single month compounded over years. The 50-30-20 rule is a useful starting framework and a genuinely good introduction to intentional budgeting. If it works for your income and city, use it. If it does not fit your reality, adapt it without guilt until you find ratios that are both honest about your costs and genuinely achievable. The best budget is always the one you will actually follow consistently for months and years, not the one that looks most impressive on paper. Adapt, simplify, automate, and repeat. That is how financial progress actually happens in the real world. Subscribe to MoneyPatch for more honest, practical money guides every week. Small steps, big change.